Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Cecilia Berryman. We warmly welcome the family of Acting Corporal Leo Alphonsus O'Loughlin, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, please be seated. Anyone who can be seated, please seat. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Acting Corporal Leo Alphonsus O'Loughlin. Leo O'Loughlin was born on the 14th of January 1920 in Ballarat, Victoria. One of 8 children born to Stephen and Laura O'Loughlin. He attended Garibaldi Primary School and later worked as an apprenticed carpenter. Part of a shearing shed he once built in the Ballarat area still stands to this day. He was a keen sportsman who excelled at cricket and football, playing for his local club of Buninyong. At the time of his enlistment, he was living at Durham Lead to the south of Ballarat. O'Loughlin enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 24th of July 1940 in Melbourne and immediately began training. In February 1941, he was posted to the 2nd 29th Battalion, which was training in Bonegilla near Wodonga on the Victoria-New South Wales border. Soon after O'Loughlin joined his unit, the 2nd 29th Battalion moved to Bathurst to continue training. On the 30th of July 1941, he sailed with the rest of the 27th Australian Brigade for Singapore. At the time of their arrival, Australia was not yet at war with Japan, but Australian, British, and other Commonwealth forces were moving to the area to act as a deterrent against the likely Japanese threat. Once in Singapore, O'Loughlin and his unit continued training and adjusted to the steamy tropical conditions. O'Loughlin was promoted several times throughout his training, eventually reaching the rank of Acting Corporal on the 14th of September. That same month, O'Loughlin and his battalion moved north from Singapore to the Malay Peninsula. Once there, they continued their training and preparations, particularly at their main base at Segamat. In early December 1941, Japan attacked the American base at Pearl Harbor and began its rapid expansion throughout Southeast Asia and declared war on Britain and the United States of America. Throughout January 1942, O'Loughlin and his unit participated in heavy fighting against the Japanese advance southward across the Malay Peninsula towards Singapore. In mid-January, they assisted Indian and Australian troops desperately fighting near Muar on the Malay Peninsula's east coast. In this region, Japanese forces overwhelmed and outflanked the Allies, who were forced to withdraw to the south, eventually fighting their way through Japanese roadblocks, strong defences, and dense jungle to the British base at Yongpeng. Casualties in the 2nd 29th Battalion were severe. In early December 1941, before the Japanese attack, the 2nd 29th Battalion recorded a strength of some 850 men. When that same unit reached Yongpeng at the end of January 1942, only 130 soldiers remained. The severely depleted 2nd 29th Battalion was reinforced, and O'Loughlin and his comrades then participated in the defence of Singapore. When Singapore fell on the 15th of February 1942, O'Loughlin was among the 15,000 Australian soldiers captured and taken as a prisoner of the war. After spending time in the Changi prisoner of war camp on Singapore, he was assigned to the Labour Group F Force, which was sent to work on the Burma-Thailand Railway. Conditions for prisoners sent to construct the railway were extremely harsh. The men were overworked, underfed, and treated poorly by their captors. Disease and malnutrition were rife. Official records state O'Loughlin as passing through the Mulaman camp on the Burmese coast, and it is likely that he worked in several areas in Thailand and Burma, including Sangkhlaburi on the modern-day Thai-Burmese border. In late 1943, in these terrible conditions, he fell ill from a vitamin deficiency known as beriberi. He was taken to the prisoner of war hospital at Kanchanaburi in Thailand, but died of his illness on the 20th of December. He was 23 years old. He is buried in the Kanchanaburi War Cemetery near the River Kwai in Thailand, where over 6,800 soldiers, of the Second World War now lie. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His portrait is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Acting Corporal Leo Alphonsus O'Loughlin, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.